Let's talk about all the books I read in February. Let's talk about all the books I read in February. Now, I had a really good reading month this February. I read 9 books, which is a lot for me, and most of them actually were physical copies. Usually, I read a lot more like audiobooks or Kindle books, but this month we had 5 physical copies that I read. So, let's get comfy, grab your drink. I'm drinking my lemon lime Olipop, but out of a straw because it's better. And we're just going to go through all the books I read and give you my thoughts. So the first book I read in February was Good Bad Girl by Alice Feeney. I was really close to finishing this in January, but I actually finished it in February. And I listened to this as an audiobook and I really enjoyed it. I always love Alice Feeney's books, but this one was really good too. And it's one of my favorites, I think. And I gave this one 4 stars. The only thing is that it was a little bit confusing at the beginning with like all these different characters. I think you're given like 3 or 4 different POVs at the beginning, and like you don't really know why or who's who really. Like it really confused me. But I'm glad that I stuck through it and like got to like the 50% mark, even like maybe the 30% mark is where I was really like, oh okay, I know what's going on. And then it got really interesting and I didn't really expect the plot twist. I mean with Alice Feeney's books, like I've just learned that I just need to not have any thoughts up here and like try not to figure it out, because I never do. And I spend usually the whole time in the book trying to figure them out, and then it's just not as enjoyable. So for Alice Feeney, I'm just like, alright, no thoughts up here. I've got nothing going on. I'm just going to let the book tell me the story and be in the story and figure it out as I go. And that's exactly what I do now for Alice Feeney. And I really like that. So if you have noticed that like you're trying way too hard in Alice Feeney's books to just guess the plot twist, just accept probably that you're not going to guess it. That's what I have learned, and then you'll enjoy the books even more. And yeah, I'm really glad that I listened to this one, and I'm almost done with her books, so I really want to finish the rest of her books. The next book I read was actually another audiobook, and I also have the physical copy, but I read The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. This has been on my TBR forever, literally. I don't know why I've been putting this one off. Everyone says this is like one of their favorite Taylor Jenkins Reid's books, so no idea why I put this off. But I decided to listen to it as an audiobook just because I feel like it would get me more into the story, because I've learned a little bit with Taylor Jenkins Reid books that I'm just not a super huge fan. I don't know if that's like an unpopular opinion, but I didn't really love Daisy Jones and the Six. I know that's an unpopular opinion, so I really just wanted to give this the best chance that I could, and I thought an audiobook would be the best. That way I can listen to it quick and just get right into the story and not like really like burn out of it. And I will say the audiobook was really good. I loved the voice actors. I loved like the vibes and just like the feel, and like they picked the perfect Evelyn for the voice. Like it just made me absolutely love Evelyn. But I will say the story was still a little bit slow for me. So basically The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo is about our girl Evelyn Hugo, who is once a Hollywood superstar. She's now late in her 70s or 80s, I don't know. She's later on in her life, and she finally wants to tell the story of her life, basically like a tell-all, and she's going to talk about all of her marriages, all of her husbands in her life. And she only wants to tell her story to Monique, who is a magazine reporter, and we don't know why, but she's very specific on, no, I only want her to tell my story. I'm only going to be telling my story to her. Take it or leave it. And so we kind of figure out why she only wants to talk to her. We figure out all that went down in all of her 7 marriages, and we just learned about her life, and it goes kind of past and present perspective. We learn about her past, and then we also learn about her in the future, and we see Monique with her and her experience through writing her story. And honestly, it was really, really interesting. This is definitely one of my favorite Taylor Jenkins Reid books that I've read, but it's still not a 5-star. I just don't think her writing is really for me. I love her storytelling. I love the character she like writes. It's just, I don't know, the writing maybe is not for me, or I just don't really love her books. I don't know, but it wasn't bad. Like I did like this one, and I loved the twist in it, and I thought the old Hollywood style was really interesting to listen to and everything. It just didn't wow me. Like it was good, you know? It was 4 stars. I'm just sad because everyone was like, oh, you'll love this book. Like when I said I didn't like Daisy Jones and the Six, they're like, well, have you read Evelyn Hugo? And I'm like, no. And I gave it a shot and I just didn't love it, but that's okay. That's okay. I just think this author maybe isn't for me, and that's okay. But let me know if you agree with me or if you absolutely love this book, because I'd be curious to know. Then I did my reading romances for a week video, so I read these 3 books in that video if you want to go watch it and see like more of my in-depth thoughts and reactions, but I'll just quickly go through them really quick. I read Picking Daisies on Sundays. So good, literally so good. I was so pleasantly surprised to really love this book. I mean, I thought I would love it. It's like a rom-com romance book, right up my alley, but I didn't expect to love it as much as I did. And this one was really close to a 5-star, but I ended up leaning on a 4-star just because it didn't give me that feeling of a 5-star, and I kind of stopped thinking about it a little bit after I've read it, and I'm like thinking about it now, but I haven't thought about it since, you know? So I feel like I feel good about my 4-star rating, but it was really, really good. And if you like Better Than the Movies, you'll absolutely love this book. It was so sweet. I read it really quickly. And yeah, again, more of my thoughts are in that reading vlog. Next, I read Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez. I have like a love-hate feeling with this book because I want to love it, and I really enjoyed like 90% of reading this book I enjoyed. But there is like one thing that happens in this book that absolutely made me so mad, and I almost DNF'd the book, so I can't give it a 5-star, but I did give it a 4-star. It was really close. I loved Jacob in this book so much. He has anxiety, and I just love the way that Abby Jimenez wrote about his anxiety. And also Brianna is so like aware and attentive to what makes him feel anxious, and like does things to prevent that, and I think that was really sweet and really fun to read about. And I really liked their relationship. It was just that one part that made me want to throw the book across the room, but it's fine. I do still recommend this one. And then we have The Do-Over. I read The Do-Over on Valentine's Day. I started on Valentine's Day and then finished it the next day because I was busy, but if I wasn't busy, I would have finished this book in one sitting. That's how you know. And I gave this one 5 stars. It's my only 5-star of the month. It was so good. If you haven't read this, please read it. If you loved Better Than the Movies, you'll love this. I loved it. I didn't love it as much as Better Than the Movies, but obviously it's still a 5-star read, so it's definitely up there. This gave me like the sweetest feeling. Like all of Lynn Painter's books, I think, I mean, I've only read 2 so far, but the feelings that I get from Lynn Painter's books are just unmatched, and I feel giddy. I feel like I'm kicking my feet, giggling. I just love her books, and her writing is so easy. I finish her books so quick. They're just so easy to read, and I'm talking about this book a little too much. It's fine. But I just loved the premise of this book. I didn't get bored at all with like the whole Groundhog Day thing, and you should definitely read it. And look how cute this one is from Barnes & Noble. Adorable. I just love Lynn Painter. Give me her grocery list. I will read it. Okay. Next, another audiobook. I listened to This Is How You Lose the Time War. Honestly, I just saw it on like available now on Libby and was like, yeah, I'll try that. I've heard of that title. Picked it, started listening to it on like 1.7 or 2 times speed. Immediately had to stop that. Put it on literally 1 time speed because I was so confused on what's happening. And I was confused to probably 50-60% of the book. I'm not even joking. And at the end, still don't really know. Finished the book, I still don't know what happened. Really? I had to literally look up videos to understand. And if you like that sort of thing, you'll love this book. But usually I do like that sort of thing. I kind of want to be in the know a little bit more than I was in this book. I literally had no idea. I didn't even know if they were real people. But that's probably just my intelligence or lack thereof, because I was really confused. And then once I started listening to it slower and like really paying attention, I was also trying to like clean and do things while listening to this audiobook, which I learned that I could not do with this audiobook. And it wasn't bad at all. Like it was entertaining. It was quick. It's really short. It was fine. I just was really confused. And I can see why people would love this book. It has a lot of metaphors. It has a deep meaning. I'm sure I just don't understand what it is. It was really beautiful. Like some of the lines were really beautiful. It's just, I don't know what was going on. Like there's a war, but I don't know what it's about. You know, I had to literally look up things to understand this book. Hold on. Anyways. So needless to say, this book just wasn't for me, but I can definitely see the appeal. And if you like more literary, beautifully written books, you'll like this. And if you like to be confused and like to have to think a lot to understand a book's meaning, this is for you. But for me, I just wanted a quick little read, and this was a little bit difficult for me. Basically, if you don't know what this book is, I'll try to explain it. Beware that I am still confused on what this book really is about. But from what I have gathered, it is about a war. We don't really know why or really what, but there's a war. And there's like the blue side and then there's the red side. And I'm pretty sure the blue side is like the garden side, earth side, and then the other side is like technology side. And they're both fighting for like their side. And basically they go back in time to try to like sabotage each other and try to like fix things in the world to make it their version of the future that they want. I'm pretty sure. And they just go back in time, back and forth, like kind of in this war between each other, the time war, to make the future what they envision the future and want the future to be. And then these two people from opposite sides of the war start talking, falling in love. They give each other magical letters through all kinds of different things. It's really cool. But they're on opposite sides of the war, so there's conflict there. And so as things happen, I'm not gonna give it away, but that's pretty much the premise. And if that doesn't sound confusing, then you should read this book because you would probably get it. I gave it 3 stars. Like, it was good. Would I read it again? Probably not. Maybe just to maybe understand better, but at the same time, I don't think I'll ever be thinking about this book again. Honestly, I already kind of forgot that I read this one. But I can definitely see why people would like it. I'm not hating on the book. I'm just saying it's not for me, personally. Oh my goodness. Then, I read this big old book. This took me like most of the month. I was reading it on my Kindle and everything, like in between other books. So, but I did finish A Court of Silver Flames. My ACOTAR vlog is out already. If you haven't seen that, go watch it. But I'll give my brief thoughts really quick. This one definitely like fell a little bit short for me compared to the other books in the series, but I still liked it. I loved I don't want to give things away, but I liked the characters in this book. I just wasn't in love with their romance, you know? Like, I wasn't, what's the word? I just wasn't like hooked, I guess, on their story or their romance. And the female main character in this kind of drove me crazy at the beginning. And it was really slow, I thought, to like 50% again, and then it kicked off. And the ending was really quick. I feel like that happened with A Court of Wings of Ruin too, though. Like, it was a little bit slow, and then the ending was like whiplash. So I don't know, but I gave it 4 stars. I liked the story and I liked the characters. It just wasn't one of my favorites. Then I listened to Sometimes I Lie by Alice Feeney. Again, I'm trying to get through all of Alice Feeney's books, so I listened to that one. This one was creepy for sure. There was times I was listening to it at night, like taking my makeup off and doing my skincare, and I was like, I gotta turn something else on because I'm creeped out. Like the main character randomly starts, oh, my battery's gonna die. Hold on. Okay, sorry if the angle changed a little bit. I had to change my battery. Anyways, what was I saying? Sometimes I lie. So it was just a little bit creepy. Like, there would be like nursery rhymes, like singing. A little creepy for me. So if you don't like that kind of stuff, be warned. But I did like this one. It was kind of dark. So basically what we know is that this main character is in a coma, and she can hear everything around her, but she can't talk or move anything. So like no one knows that she can hear her, and she doesn't know what happened. She knows she was like in some sort of accident, but that's all she knows. And then she's like, there's 3 things you need to know about me. My name is blah blah blah. I'm in a coma, and then like sometimes I lie. And then you just are brought back to the past, and you learn about her childhood, and then you learn about her future present before the crash, and then you learn about present time. And then you're seeing like things that are happening around her while she's in this coma, and she's like figuring things out. And I'll say the plot twist again always gets me in Alice Feeney's books. I didn't see this coming at all, and I liked this one a lot. I just think it was a little bit less creepy. I would have liked it a little bit more. It was just really, this poor girl, Amber, went through it. She literally went through the trenches. And if you are sensitive to trigger warnings, I would definitely look up the trigger warnings in this book, because there's a lot this poor girl went through. So that was a lot, and I just think it was a little dark and creepy for me. But it was still really good. I gave it 3.5 stars. I liked it. I just like didn't like the feeling I was like left with after I finished this book. I was a little bit sad and down. So, but it was good. I recommend it still. Just beware of the trigger warnings. I've just been yapping. This last book I read, guys. This last book I read in February, if you haven't read it, please read it. Please. And the Do-Over. If you get anything out of this video, read the Do-Over and read this book, please. I read The Grace Year on my Kindle. This was really random because I was just scrolling through Kindle Unlimited. I was like, I don't have a book I'm reading on my Kindle right now. I just finished A Court of Silver Flames. So I needed a book on my Kindle because I like to read multiple books at once. I need one on my Kindle for at nighttime, you know. So I'm scrolling through Kindle Unlimited. I'm like, okay. I've seen like a little bit of talk about this book like a while ago, And I'm like, sure, I just try it. I did not expect to be hooked and like this book so much. I read it so quick. I literally read it, I don't even know, like 2 days, like a night and then the next day, and like that was it. I finished it. So good. It kept me so entertained, and I was so hooked to find out like what was going to keep happening, like from the very first page, which is rare for me. And I was just thoroughly into this book. Like, I needed to know what happened. So basically this book, first of all, let me just say, it is like a crossover between Lord of the Flies and Yellow Jackets, the TV show, if you've seen that. It's just like put the two together and you have the Gray Seer. And I've never read Lord of the Flies. I know, shocking. It's on my TBR. I'm going to be reading it soon after reading the Gray Seer, so stay tuned for that. Basically, there's this thing in this society where they live called the Gray Seer, where they send all of the girls that are of age, I think it's 16. Yeah, they turn 16 and they have to go on this Gray Seer trip for a whole entire year where they're supposed to be banishing and like getting rid of their magic. So these women have this magic that is like a danger to the men in their society, and so they're banished for a year into this like wilderness encampment thing to get rid of their magic, and not all of them survive. And it's kind of like this big ominous thing that like no one talks about. They're not allowed to talk about the Gray Seer, so no one really knows what happens during the Gray Seer. And our main protagonist, forgot her name. I'm sorry. I just scared him so bad. And our main character, Tyranny, is turning 16, so it's her year to go on the Gray Seer, and she's determined to make it out of the Gray Seer alive. And that's basically where you're at. So you kind of learn about her life in her everyday world, who she's familiar with. You learn about the society, and then you see her go through her Gray Seer, and it is so crazy and so entertaining, and you just like want to know what happens. It is a little bit dark, but it's not like too scary. Like, I read this at night and I was okay, and that should tell you something, because if there's anything spooky, creepy, you know, like, it was definitely a little bit eerie and dark, but it wasn't anything too bad where I was like scared to read at night. But I still really liked it. I think it was really interesting, and there were so many good quotes about just like womanhood and how women are treated and all this stuff. There's so many good like metaphors and just so many good messages and all this stuff. Like, I really liked it. I don't know if there's going to be a second one or anything, but I would love that. I'd love to read more about this world. I definitely recommend it. If you've read this book and you haven't seen the show Yellow Jackets, please watch it. You'll love it. And if you've watched the show, you should definitely read this book. And it was really good. So those are all the books I read in February. I read 9 books, which literally, again, is so crazy for me. I was just going and going. And I hope you enjoyed hearing all my thoughts about these books, and I hope maybe you got like a book recommendation or something. And thank you so much for watching, and subscribe if you want to see more book videos from me, and I'll see you really soon with another video.